Hoff drunk.
I've not seen the full.
It's really,
clip.
really sad. It's basically what happened was that the Hoff, he is a recovering alcoholic, as some people. I remember he was being interviewed on BBC Breakfast, and I find the BBC Breakfast interviews tortuous. I mean, I think they're good presenters when they're doing news, but when they get to the showbiz bit towards the end, it's agonising. It's something I'd put in my room 101 because it's always trying to be frothy. And at one point they were interviewing the Hoff once, and they just said, "Oh, you're here in London, sampling the bars, are you? While you're here, having a few bevies?" And he went, "I'm a recovering alcoholic." They went, "Yeah, sure, okay." And it's just kind of just a kind of really awkwardness about it. Anyway, so he's been struggling with alcohol for a while, and he asked his teenage daughter to record him the next time he got drunk, and so she did, and so it's somehow escaped onto the web, which is really unfortunate. And it's extraordinary, and the Hoff is kind of stripped to the waist, lying on the floor of this apartment, and it starts off kind of amusing. You think it's going to be funny because he's trying to eat a beef burger, a giant beef burger, and he's so drunk. I mean, he's out of his head, and he's just every time he just tries to lift it up, it sort of flaps open, and the meat kind of falls out, and then he's sort of trying to scoop it up. And his daughter's there, she's about 16, and she's behind the camera, and she's filming him, saying, "Dad, you can't get drunk tomorrow because they'll fire you from the show you're in," because he's in a Las Vegas musical.
Producers, yeah.
And they're saying they're going to come, they're going to send a doctor, they're going to test your alcohol and stuff, and it's really heartbreaking. And then towards the end, and he sort of at one point, I think he says something like, she says, "Why do you drink?" And he says, "Oh, I'm not loved," or something like that. It's heartbreaking to watch. And so I mean, it's worth seeking out just because it's a really sobering I think kind of example of when sort of, you know, there's this obsession with celebrity and somehow everything can get leaked onto the web, and there's a moment here where it's someone's real life and they sort of falling apart, and it just feels like it shouldn't have been abused in that way, and it shouldn't have been spread around, although it is kind of in a strange way quite heartwarming to see it. But it sort of got me thinking, because obviously I'm always a little anxious, you know, having a slight profile, whether my indiscretions,
the stuff you get up to
exactly, whether they're going to escape onto the web. And I was thinking the other day, because I mentioned this briefly to Rufus, but I was driving along the other day, and you know I've got a weak bladder.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. I've got the ways off to the toilet.
You've
and I remember
been 3 times.
Since I've been here, right? Yeah, exactly. And the problem is that if I was editing once and I had a cold, and so I was sniffing and going to the toilet every 5 minutes. People were drawing certain conclusions as I work in the media, as you might imagine. But it's just a terrible, terrible weak bladder. And so I'll find that I'll set off from my house in a car, and unless I've sort of worked out the journey very carefully, it's about, 20 minutes into the journey, I'm really struggling. So the other day I'm driving along, and it's overwhelmed me. I thought I could make it. I couldn't. I was just, when you're just going to explode. It's so desperate. Yeah. And so I saw some of those toilets that they have in the street. And I thought I'll use one of them. So I had to try and park. So I was trying to find somewhere to park, and it was just the clock was ticking. It was like an episode of 24, a really mundane episode of 24. And I was like, oh God. And so I managed to park up, and then I could have had the sat nav on the window screen, so I had to take that off. I didn't want people breaking in for that, because apparently that's what happens now. So I rush over to these toilets. One of them is for disabled people. I didn't have a pass, I couldn't get in. The other one's, it says 20p. So I load it with £1. I've only got £1 coin, and it keeps popping back out. And I'm screaming at it, thinking, have £1. I'm not a generous man, but in this situation, take the £1, even though it's only 20p. I'm screaming at the machine. It's like that scene in 40 Towers where he's hitting the car with a tree. I'm just thinking, please let me in. This is surely what this is for. These are emergency toilets. No one is planning ahead, thinking I'm going to have 20p so I can use it in one of those grotty public toilets. So I just start running off into the street, thinking I've just got to find somewhere to go, and I'm just running randomly through streets I'm not familiar with. And there's a bunch of market traders who were just packing up. So the more I ran, the more there were just market traders around. I couldn't obviously find anywhere, because obviously that's very much their working environment. You don't go into someone's office and just start, taking a dump on the desk. So I'm just I mean, maybe some people do, I don't know. So I'm thinking, like, what can I do? And so I ran down this corridor, this sort of alleyway, and I'm thinking, brilliant, I'm just about to go. And then there's a sort of security camera. They have them on the side of buildings, sort of watching me, and I'm thinking, I can't, because what if they recognise me? You don't want that leaked on the web, Hoff style, me
literally leaked on the web.
Yeah, exactly. Me urinating in the street. So I'm just running randomly around, and then I saw a pub, and I thought, can I go in that pub? And pubs do not like it, I think, if you just use the toilets. And again, I'm slightly aware. I was thinking, what if someone recognises me as I'm sneaking back out? I think, well, Steve, you didn't buy a drink. I'll have to sit there and have a Coke on my own or whatever, or a glass of tap water. So then I run down a little alleyway, and I get everything. I'm ready to go. I'm thinking, this is going to be extraordinary. And I look behind me. I swear to God, there was a film crew, a camera crew, filming like a TV ad or something. And it was so bizarre. It was like I was about to go, and I looked behind me, and there was a whole crew of people filming. But they thankfully were facing the other way. So I just ran off. And in the end, okay, I don't know if I'm going to get arrested. I don't know if I'm going to get into trouble with the feds, with the man, with the police. But I did have to go in an alley, right, behind some bins. I apologise. I apologise to everyone listening. Apologise to my parents for telling this story. But the truth is, what was I supposed to do? There's no other option. This is my point being, let those machines accept £1.
The thing is, Steve, what you can do now, man with your money especially, get one of those pig's bladders.
Sure.
They do transplants. Pigs clean animals. They can go up to 2 days without going for a wee.
And on that note, let's wrap up the show there. Round of applause to everyone for listening. I'm going to leave you with the Tinder. We got started. Yeah, we can start now. Okay, let's start it now. Then it's the Tinder Sticks. It's the swing version of Rented Rooms. Thank you very much indeed to Sarah. Round of applause for her.
Thank you.
You didn't have to come in, but you did. I really appreciate it. We got Stuart McConey next.
Yeah.
McConey's next. We'll be back next week. Actually, the show will not be live. It will be pre-recorded because, get this, guys, I'm going to Morocco to buy a fez. All right. Hopefully, I'll have some stories like that about that in a few weeks' time. But we'll leave you with Tinder Sticks and the swing version of Rented Rooms. Thanks very much indeed for listening. Back next week. From 1985, The Cult and She Sells Sanctuary. It's the Steve Show on BBC Six Music with me, Stephen Merchant. Good afternoon to you. If you are expecting some kind of clever, highfalutin, smart alecky introduction today, you will not be getting it because we are not live in the studio. We're on tape. We're pre-recorded. Round of applause for being pre-recorded earlier in the week. I'm actually currently sunning myself in exotic Morocco as we speak, probably being hassled by a man who's trying to sell me a carpet or a monkey. And if I buy either, I will be telling you next week, and that will I'm certainly going to be buying a fez. There's no doubt of it. Buying that day one, as soon as I get off the plane, wearing it the whole time, looking like an absolute And I can say because we can bleep it out. Jude, the producer, is here, and God bless her, she can bleep out anything we say. I can even back announce that first song as the and you have to bleep it out. You have to officially bleep it out, Jude. It's your job. It's your job. That's what you have to do. If anyone wants to say tits, you have to bleep them out.
Jude is actually blushing.
I'm interested to know what words she doesn't have to. Do you have to bleep that?
Yes.
Knockers. You can keep that in. You can keep in knockers. No, I tell you what it is. We did it once before, and the thing is, if you pre-record the show, there's a kind of childlike thing that comes over
it's
you.
like the last day of school.
It's exactly like that, and you feel like there's no rules, there's no responsibilities anymore. You know, if I want to say wanger, I can. I can say wanger. See, I can say wanger, but not wanger. So it's extraordinary. It's amazing how have you got to keep a note of everyone as we go through. Wow, this is going to be brilliant.
That's a isn't it?
That really is. Okay, now listen, this is really juvenile, but let's move on. Let's introduce my cronies, the two people I like to invite into the studio week on, week after, week what? Well, you can cut that, make it sound coherent.
That'd be much better.
And I call them my friends, my colleagues, my twats. Making it 6'11", make a note of that one. Gentlemen, it's lovely to see you with us the far corner there. It's Harry.
Hello.
Oh, giving himself a round of
We
applause.
always clap.
I did
We
not
always
ask
clap.
for a round of applause.
I tell you what, we go to pre-record, it all just goes to pot, doesn't it?
It does, doesn't it?
Useless.
And how are you? Are you alright?
I'm not bad, Steve. Everyone knows by now, hopefully. I work for a bank. I've had an exciting day. They've sent me on a training course, interview skills. Which is quite good.
Really interesting.
Yeah, well, I've reached such a position of power now, I decide who joins the bank, which is quite good stuff.
Is that true?
Yeah, but major concerns today, the SheJ thing we're doing.
Yeah.
Apparently we're breaking all sorts of rules and laws.
Okay, well listen, I'm not gonna ask you what those rules and laws we're breaking are at the moment, because we'll come to that a bit later. What I've done there is I've teased the listener. There's no way that the four of them are gonna switch off now. And with Harry, of course, is also Rufus, super posh Rufus. Rufus is gonna get a hip hip hooray. Hip hip.
Alright,
Very good. It's the sort of thing I would imagine would be happening in perhaps your gentleman's club, of which I'm almost certain you're a member.
Well, yeah, I am a member of just one gentleman's club, though I used to be a member of another one that I won't name, but it was really, really posh. And I joined when I left my posh school. I joined for 7 posh years at a reduced fee. And then I went there about 3 times, and once I went in there and it was really, really hot, and I was removing my jacket, and the man behind the bar just said, "No, sir." No, sir. And I didn't go back. I was too frightened.
It's extraordinary when you go in a place and the people serving and waitering on you are more posh than you.
Yeah,
Even you, Rufus.
Yeah,
that intimidates me.
And they hate you. They hate you and you hate them, and the whole experience is just vile.
That happened to me in a Weatherspoons once.
Yeah. I would love to talk further with you guys, but of course the key element of this show is music. Music. It's a music channel. It's all about the music. Don't want to get criticised for not playing enough music. You're here because you're going to be recommending music to me later. The listeners will be doing that, and everyone's going to get involved. It's going to be a massive, great music loving. Let's continue with the tunes, and we'll come back with more chit chat after this. We played the B-side a few weeks ago. It was called The Quiz, you may recall, and we quite enjoyed it. And that's the A-side of the first single from Swedish duo Hello Safe Ride. And it's called I Was Definitely Made for These Times, and I believe it's out tomorrow, which is Monday, not Thursday, because we're recording this on Wednesday. I just want to explain this because I do not like keeping anything from the listeners. We are not live as we speak. This is pre-recorded earlier in the week on a Wednesday. It's a Wednesday afternoon. We're a bit tired. We've had a miserable day. We've got to come in and entertain you people. And frankly, none of us is looking forward to it. Oh well, here we are anyway. They'll cut that bit out, make me sound like I'm chirpy and happy. Harry, what is the most interesting thing that's happened to you this week?
Well, like I'm saying, this training course, Steve, it's great. You get to meet other people in the bank, you know, it's quite rock and roll. A lot of interesting people there, as you can imagine.
Sure.
But yeah, we're breaking all these rules with the CJ thing. We might have to stop it.
Wow.
Because A, we're asking for women.
Right.
You can't ask for women. You have to ask for
course you
nothing.
have. Yeah.
Right? Okay. When they come in, like, I think Sarah last week was Australian. We made mention of that. You're not allowed to do that.
Really?
Because you're acknowledging her nationality.
I see.
And potentially her ethnic origin. You can't do that.
Sure.
We then, I remember with Sammy on the first week, we talked about, had she got a boyfriend? Was she married?
Sure.
You can't do that.
Can't mention that.
Because that might mean, you know, she might be having kids, and we won't employ her because we might want her to come in one week when she's massively pregnant.
Sure.
So we're basically breaking a lot of rules, and if any of the CJs don't make it back ever, they could just basically sue us.
They could sue us.
They could sue you for everything you've got.
And that's plenty.
I've got nothing, but you're in trouble.
I got crazy amounts of stuff.
Yeah.
Could they take my awards, Harry?
I think they could.
Could they do that? Could they take that from me?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Imagine that.
Oh my godness. I don't think I could cope. That's even more strong than goodness. It's that's how impassioned. Oh my godness.
How do you think you'd be involved in repossessing Steve's awards?
You know, I wouldn't want to do it, but if I had to, I would.
Sure.
I can just imagine that Harry in a suit just walking out of Steve's flat with just bulging arms full of awards.
Yeah,
and Steve just crying in pajamas.
3 BAFTAs.
You know, officialdom comes easy to
3
me.
3 BAFTAs. What? Go on.
Officialdom comes easy to me.
It does. I imagine you're the sort of man who would easily turn your back on your friends.
Oh God, yeah.
You'd betray as soon as someone gave you a uniform. That would be enough. You'd happily be marching me off somewhere.
Yeah.
What's the most interesting thing that's happened to you, Rufus, this week?
Stephen, I went for a run this week, which is dull in itself.
Yeah,
I'll
enormously
acknowledge that. But as I was running along embankment, someone driving past in their car said, "Good for you, mate."
Oh, bless.
That's really good.
And I thought, I laughed quite a lot. Well, at first I was a bit panting and I wasn't really in the mood for laughing. And then I relayed this story to somebody else, a mutual friend of ours, who said that his mother-in-law, who's American, says it all the time when she's in her car driving past joggers. She says, "Good for you!"
But in a patronising way? Do you think now, actually looking back, it was patronising?
Well, I don't think so. She says it particularly to the larger jogger.
Yeah. Right.
Which is kind of quite patronising and quite offensive. But because she's American, and because she does it mainly in America, of course, Americans think it's really funny and go, "Oh, thanks."
Yeah.
Keep running. But in England, you can't start saying "good for you" to
you
joggers.
can't start offering kind of bon mots without, being invited to do so. It's just not the British way, is it?
But I might start doing it to those guys who have clipboards. The kind of democracy.
The Oxfam people.
Just say, "Good for you, mate."
I am shameless now. I have got a whole routine. When I see those guys, I spot them, in the distance. Straight away, phones out, pretending to have a phone call. Well, that's the thing, mate. Yeah. And it's always vague things. Sometimes I'm always talking to my friend Paul. It's always Paul. Oh, I don't know, Paul. You try and tell her that, mate. And we'll always make sure. And then I always continue the conversation and hang up. Do the whole fake call. Sometimes I even phone people. Phone my dad. Oh, Dad, I haven't spoken to you for a while. Listen, I'm just walking past some of those sort of zombies that are from a charity zombies. All right, because they just are everywhere, and they're clever because they figure out where to stand in the street. So even if you walk across the street and avoid one, there's another one back to pounce.
The phone thing is good. I always avoid the hands-free things because the phone thing, once you've got the phone on your ear, I am in my own bubble now. Imagine this as a phone booth. Imagine me in a public payphone.
You're not allowed to interrupt.
You wouldn't tap on the glass, would you? So if you're a market, don't start. It's like when we were talking about when you're going to the loo in a pub when you haven't bought a drink.
Yeah.
Just get on the old phone there.
Exactly.
And as you're leaving the pub, it's like you can't even look at the barman because it's really urgent phone
too busy to call. Yeah, I've just had a cracking wee.
Yeah. I'm off out the old.
Exactly. Yeah. I got heckled once when I was in LA because no one walks in LA, as you know. It's a very strange city, and everyone drives. And I didn't know that. And I was setting off, and I was walking, and as I was walking along, a guy just went, "Hey loser, get a car!" It was like something from The Simpsons. It was extraordinary. "Hey loser!" As he drove by, "Hey loser, get a car!" It was extraordinary.
Can you do the whole show leaning back and shouting? It sounded brilliant.
It was really good. Yeah.